I've seen you before encourage negative visualization. That almost sounds counterintuitive to like going in with a positive mindset about how your speech or how your communication, how your presentation is going to go. And it's quite unusual. But what are the benefits in your opinion?
So with negative visualization, Colin, the way that it works is that you envision the worst thing that could possibly happen and you rising above anyways. In a great world, whenever we're getting on the stage, only good things can happen where the audience is looking at us, they're paying attention, and no one is on their phones, etc. But the unfortunate truth is that in the real world, there's going to be a lot of roadblocks that are thrown in the way. A lot of people are not going to be paying attention. Some people are going to be yawning, and some people are going to pull out their phone while they're in the front row and just be giggling and texting someone else. And if you're someone that can embrace for the second thing to happen, when it does happen, you're not as rattled. And it's great that you asked me this question because the YouTube video that I posted yesterday, it basically talked about a moment when I was supposed to give a presentation in this beautiful coffee house. Everything was supposed to be cool, AC, nice. This was a mastermind group. And I'm wearing a suit, right? So the day that I go to give the presentation, I noticed this huge line that's waiting outside the coffee house. And I'm thinking, how come none of you guys are inside? And that's when the guy's like, didn't you hear? The owner never showed up. I guess they don't know that we're throwing an event today. I was thinking, wait, what? I'm supposed to be a speaker. And this is one of those mastermind groups where tons of people from different parts of the state travel to, and it would be unfortunate if we just cancel it for no reason. So I asked the different people there who could open up their apartment or house so we could host a meeting, and no one volunteered. But luckily, one guy was like, you can't use my house, but you can use my guest area. It's a pool where we could all pull up chairs, and the only problem is that it's hot. And that was a problem. It was really hot. So as I was giving my presentation, I'm wearing a suit. It's 98 degrees. The sun is hitting my face, and I'm expecting an enthusiastic audience. Instead, this group of people never got their coffee. They're angry. They're burning. Low energy audience. And this was not what I expected at all. But luckily, throughout my journey, I did a lot of negative visualization to expect a moment like this and not be completely rattled when a moment like this happened. So I was able to finish my talk. But that just ties into the initial question, Colin, that in order to negative visualize, you always have to see yourself rising above anyways. If you're just picturing the worst thing that's going to happen and you not rising above, that's just you being anxious. But you got to picture yourself rising above and train that muscle. So when situations like this happen, when the coffee owner doesn't show up, you can still thrive.
Brilliant. And I've got two examples that I'm going to try and share to really help the listeners in terms of like two different analogies. And one's going to come from the sports world. We were talking there about basketball, but if we talk about golf, I know that Tiger Woods was massive on visualization about how his round would go throughout the course of each hole. And there'd be particular holes, maybe with like a bunker or a water hazard or something that he needs to avoid. And he's visualizing in his mind the worst case scenario. So going into that, penalty shots, not making a birdie, not making a par, whatever else, and visualizing how he'll shape the ball and swing the club and move it away from that hazard and that worst case scenario to generate the best possible outcome. So I think it's wonderful that you've used that style to think about, oh, well, if I turn up to this presentation and this isn't right and this isn't right, then I can still overcome it by doing this, by falling back on these soft skills and these presentation styles that I have to enable that I still deliver a talk that's of a good quality and a good standard. And the other thing that was in my head immediately was, how many times do people turn up to presentations or give meetings internally and they're so reliant on the PowerPoint aid or the PDF or whatever they're sharing that if that went wrong, which happens all the time in meeting rooms, you go in and you can't find the connector to the laptop, whatever else, and people they're like, oh my God, what am I going to do without my notes? That is the ultimate in negative visualization. The worst case scenario, you show up and what you need isn't available. So to visualize how you would deliver without that and then that key word begins with P, preparation, to still be able to deliver is all important. So that was two things that you got me thinking about immediately there, Armin, when you were talking about the different ways to use negative visualization for a positive outcome.
You nailed it, especially your second example, Colin, where when we're thinking negative visualization, it doesn't have to be something grand or a spectacle. Instead, it could be something as small as, what if the PowerPoint slides don't work? What if there are technical difficulties? Do I have a backup plan? What if for some reason there's a bird who snatches all my index cards the day of the speech? Am I still capable of delivering the speech? It could be something as small as that. But when you insert that moment of negative visualization, it gets you thinking differently. And you're like, okay, I have the index cards, but at this point, I'm too reliant on it. If the bird does take it, then I cannot give the speech. How about as I'm preparing, I now learn this speech in a way where the index cards will help, but they're not needed.